The Harivamśa Purana, Chapter 18, The Wrestling Match. Death of Chanura. Without further cause for wait, let the games begin, roared Mushtika, and a cacophony of applause filled the stadium. Mushtika began calling participants to the center ring, and a terrific wrestling took place. There were even some opponents who died on the ring, and Mushtika took their mangled bodies away from the ring. Krishna was watching this sport with a smile, along with his brother Balarama. On some occasions, they would see a neck snap or a shoulder torn from a limb, as the wrestlers sported on the mud and dung with their specially prepared stadium. While the majority of the audience either winced in fear or turned their heads, both Balarama and Krishna kept somber looks without showing the slightest discomfort, much to Kamsa's irritation. Kamsa intended to scare Krishna by pairing wrestlers unevenly matched so they would die on the ring. But that did not work. Neither Krishna nor Balarama wore even the faintest look of worry on their faces as the bodies piled on. A loud scream was heard in the center of the ring, and Andra, a powerful mountain-like wrestler, broke the bones of his opponents one by one as he laughed maniacally. With the win of Andra, Mushtika called Balarama and Krishna to fight with Andra and Chanura. Both the boys, who were not even teenagers, leapt into the ring and smeared themselves with mud, in line with the custom of wrestling. Chanura, though he had heard of the God incarnate's mighty achievement, was beside himself with pride and self-assurance of his victory. This child is nothing but skin and bones. I will make quick work of him and throw his dead body in front of my master, he said to himself as he too leapt into the ring. There was a loud roar of discomfort and disagreement among the audience. They are little children. This is mortal combat. Protestations came from all directions in the crowd, but the loudest were amongst the Yadava clans. Mushtika raised his palm and Kamsa turned his head in the direction of the rioting audience, and in an instant a hush fell amongst the crowd. No one dared to defy King Kamsa. "What are you waiting for, Mushtika? The cows to come home? Commence the fight!" growled King Kamsa, not wanting to risk any more hesitation from the audience. Mushtika nodded hastily and raised his arm sideways to indicate the wrestling would commence. Both Balarama and Krishna rubbed their hands in anticipation, while Andra and Chanura slapped their inner thighs and beat their chests like gargantuan gorillas that they were. The first person to pin down the other on the ground, either by force or by stealing his life breath in death, will be considered victorious, commanded Mushtika. The wrestlers are to bow to each other before the commencement of the trial of arms. Then each pair may fight either one or both of the opposing wrestlers, instructed Mushtika. Krishna and Balarama approached the wrestlers Andra and Chanura, bowed respectfully before them as they reciprocated, and a terrific bout of wrestling commenced. Balarama engaged Andra of mountain-like build, and Krishna clashed with Chanura, who was nothing short of an elephant in stature. The audience held on to their breaths with terror, and Kamsa's face was drenched in perspiration as he saw two boys not much older than 11 years of age, expertly wrestle veteran wrestlers. Andra tried his best to crush Balarama, but the boy seemed to get more and more powerful the harder he tried. Chanura rolled and managed to catch Krishna into a bear hug as he commenced crushing him, but the wily Krishna slipped through his grip. There was an ear-shattering shriek. When the audience turned toward the direction of the shriek, they saw that Balarama had placed his knee on the center of Andra's back as he pulled his neck with one hand and his left thigh with the other and kept pulling until everyone heard a crunch. Balarama had effectively broken Andra's spine. He threw down the mountainous wrestler on the ground as he writhed in agony, and the audience cheered. Terror seeped into Kamsa's veins. Chanura used the distraction to once more crush Krishna in a bear hug, and once more the god incarnate slipped under him, and finally Krishna managed to wrest his arm from Chanura, while Balarama watched with a sincere look. Though it was acceptable for Balarama to fight Chanura with Krishna, he chose not to. Finally, Krishna wrapped one of his arms around Chanura's neck and used the other arm to hold both of Chanura's legs behind him, and he began to squeeze. Chanura's back was bent and he began to suffocate. Kamsa, fearing the worst for his commandante, screamed at the top of his lungs, "Nikriti, Mushtika, Toshala, throw yourselves in the ring and stop that miscreant from killing my servant!" he bellowed. Nikriti was another mountain-like wrestler. Just like Toshala and Mushtika, didn't hesitate to obey his master's command as they all leapt into the ring. Now Balarama faced 3 men while Krishna held on to Chanura. Upon seeing that 3 more wrestlers entered the ring, Krishna was furious, as this was against the code of wrestling. He lifted the partially strangulated Chanura above his head and began to spin him, while Balarama ran after the other wrestlers to stop them from coming to Krishna. Krishna had spun Chanura at least a dozen times before he slammed him hard onto the ground and pressed his knee on his chest while clobbering his face. Chanura groaned in agony as several teeth flung out of his jaw, and Chanura breathed his last. Wow, what a fantastic wrestling match! How wondrous to hear that the God incarnate, the great God Mahavishnu, effortlessly slaughtered the only contestants who dared to fight him. However, dear teacher, is it not cruel for the Lord of all beings to slaughter these wrestlers in such a brutal manner? Asked Janamejaya. And the Rajaguru gave a long sigh. Dear student, while it is true that non-violence is the highest virtue, when one is threatening you with death, violence is an accepted course of action, and the sport of wrestling is a violent one at that. Had the Lord not resorted to such violence, then the wrestlers would. This also allowed King Kamsa to send more of his henchmen to fight the Lord, said the Rajaguru Vaishampayana. Ah yes, King Kamsa, what happens next? How does the Lord defeat him? Asked King Janamejaya. And the Rajaguru promised to tell him in the next episode of the Harivamśa.
I hope you liked today's episode of The House of Kuru. If you have not already, please subscribe to this channel and like this video so that you will be notified every time a new video is uploaded. Thank you.